Howdy. Just going to make a recording while I cook some dinner. It's a little bit late this evening. As often happens. Got a little bit sidetracked. Been chopping up the turmeric here. Put the heat on. Normally use olive oil. Tonight I'm going to open up a jar of coconut oil. That should be easy. As you can see, it's winter time. Goes quite hard in winter. In summertime, this would be a running liquid. So anyway, the reason it's taking me so long, it's after 8 o'clock. Between start cooking and I know it's crazy, isn't it? Maybe put that back a little bit. It is because I made a comment on Sapien's YouTube channel. Don starts off brother man, and I got a couple of responses really quickly. I thought, oh, I might try and respond to some of these, and next thing I know, go back and look at a few more Facebook things, come back and there's like a dozen responses there already. And I'm like, oh crap. It starts there every time. The minute you open up your mouth and tell people you're a flat earther, all of a sudden, you're the biggest moron in the world, for one thing. Doesn't matter how you go about it, you just cannot win. So I thought I could sit there all night tonight typing out responses to them all, but I haven't even started cooking dinner yet. I've chopped up a fair bit of turmeric, I just chopped some garlic. I thought, bugger it, I'll just make a video and I can respond to you all there. So while I was just chopping, I thought, I'm going to ask a few quick questions. The last one I just asked was, okay Google, how long does it take for the moon to go around the Earth once?
About 27.32 days. According to Wikipedia, the sidereal month is the time it takes to make one complete orbit around Earth with respect to the fixed stars. It is about 27.32 days.
So about 27.32 days. Yet we know a cycle of the moon, well I know, because I've been following the moon my whole life. One of the reasons I became a flat earther, because of the moon. And that is, it takes 29.4 days for a cycle. Okay Google, how long does it take for a moon to go from one full moon to the next?
Here's a summary from Lunar and Planetary Institute. This is called the sidereal month and is measured by our moon's position relative to distant fixed stars. It takes our moon about 29.5 days to complete one cycle of phases.
There you go. Thank you, Google. It takes 27 days, 7 hours and 43 minutes for our moon to complete one full orbit around Earth. This is called the sidereal month and is measured by our moon's position relative to distance fixed stars. See, they even call it fixed. However, it takes our moon about 29.5 days to complete one cycle of phases from new moon to new moon. I knew that. I know lots about the moon. And This is where the term lunatic actually comes from. Not so much because of the way people go crazy during a full moon, but because trying to understand the moon will send you crazy if you believe you live on a spinning Earth. Let's ask it again. Okay, Google. How fast is the Earth going around the Sun?
About 67,000 miles per hour. Here's a summary from space.com. Our orbital speed around the Sun is about 67,000 miles per hour. We can calculate that with basic geometry. First, we have to figure out how far Earth travels.
Okay, Google. How fast does the moon go in order to keep up with the Earth as it goes around the Sun?
According to space.com, our orbital speed around the Sun is about 67,000 miles per hour, according to Cornell.
So that question was a little bit too hard for poor old Google. Okay, Google. How fast does the moon travel around the Earth?
According to Cool Cosmos, Caltech, the moon orbits Earth at a speed of 2,288 miles per hour.
2,288 miles per hour, but the Earth is going 67,000 miles per hour. So that means that the moon is actually going 2,288 miles per hour plus 67,000 miles per hour. So that's 70,000 miles per hour. Wait, there's more, because okay, Google, how fast is the Sun moving through the galaxy?
According to Wikipedia, the solar system is traveling at an average speed of 828,000 kilometers per hour or 514,000 miles per hour within its trajectory around the galactic center, a speed at which an object could circumnavigate the Earth's equator in 2 minutes and 54 seconds. That speed corresponds to approximately 1,300th of the speed of light.
Pretty fast. I got a bit of olive oil after all. So, let's put some turmeric in with the potatoes. Bit of garlic. I don't have much garlic left, so. It's okay, we've established a few truths there. It's going, the Sun is going 514,000 miles per hour within its trajectory around the galactic center. The speed at which an object could circumnavigate the Earth's equator in 2 minutes and 54 seconds. Wow. So anyway, my point is, if the Sun is going that fast, and the Earth is going that fast around the Sun, then the Moon is really going a heck of a lot more faster than both of those things, because it's keeping up with us as it orbits us. So it's actually going in incredibly fast speed. This is the thing that I'm first addressing this just because of the morons, for want of a better word. I could think of many, but that's the most polite one I can find. These morons I've been discussing with on Facebook today can't wrap their heads around the ISS, International Space Station. Okay, Google, how high is the International Space Station from Earth?
International Space Station's orbit height is 408 kilometers.
408 kilometers. Okay, Google. How many miles is 408 kilometers? It's going a bit slow now. It could be because I'm recording.
408 kilometers equals 253.519 miles.
So 253.5 miles. Okay. So while the Earth is travelling around the Sun over 500,000 miles an hour, at what speed does the International Space Station orbit the Earth? Oh, okay, Google. At what speed does the International Space Station orbit the Earth?
According to Cool Cosmos, Caltech, the International Space Station travels in orbit around Earth at a speed of roughly 17,150 miles per hour. That's about 5 miles per second.
17,150, 5 miles per second. Wow. That's pretty impressive. You might notice I peel my carrots but not my potatoes. Don't ask me why, because I just don't like carrot peeling in the curry, I guess, but potato peel I don't mind. It gives a nice little texture. So anyway, we've established now good old International Fake Station is going 17,150 miles per hour. What was the moon going again? I've already forgotten. Okay, Google. What speed does the moon orbit the Earth?
3,683 kilometers per hour. According to Cool Cosmos, Caltech, the moon orbits Earth at a speed of 2,288 miles per hour, 3,683 kilometers per hour.
Okay, so the space station is going 2.2 divided by 17.1. Let's just call the whole thing 8 times faster. Is that good enough? Ballpark figure? Yeah, close enough. So the space station going 8 times faster than the moon at a much closer distance. That's probably why they say it orbits us. All but bullshits us. Every 90 minutes of the day. Wow. Now that takes my breath away. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. Takes my breath away. Oh man, I should be concentrating on the cooking here. Where's the chili seeds? There you are. Let's see about 1 tablespoon, that should be enough. Okay, a bit more. Chili, curry, pepper. Alright, so we've got the curry on the way. 1 more carrot. Don't worry guys, I'll get cheers in a minute. Good things come to those who wait. I've got a song stuck in my head now. And I don't know the words to it. Isn't that the worst when you have to make up your own words? Take my breath away. Boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, I'll shut up now. I'm really spewing because I didn't get a chance to go shopping this week. That's why another floor one. Wishing I cleaned the floor today. Good thing I've got plenty of homegrown turmeric. Anybody wants a piece of this turmeric, just break one of these little puppies off, stick it in the ground. Another lifetime supply of turmeric. That's why I got so much of it. It's really messy to chop up though. I just got the stains off my hand this morning in the shower from the last couple of days, and now I've just got a whole lot of new ones. Nah, don't matter. Bit of onion won't go astray. Alright. So I think it's fairly safe to establish that in the heliocentric model that we all understand, that Google itself has just said that the Earth is going $67,000 miles, even it's actually 66,600 if you work it out, but it's 67,000 miles an hour around the sun, going 500,000 miles an hour through the galaxy. So for something to be orbiting us, it's the equivalent. I had a really hard time getting this message through to these guys on Facebook today because they think they know it all, because the ISS is so real to them because they've seen it, and they got really offended when I dared suggest it might be just a drone or something dressed up to look like it. It really hurt there. I don't know what you'd call it there. Cognitive dissonance. That's probably a good word as any. Geez, I peeled that one without even chopping it. How was that? This one, on the other hand, doesn't look as loose. So, to understand orbital mechanics, they're all based on the fact that they think the Earth isn't moving at all. To go around the Earth at 17,150 miles per hour is assuming that the Earth itself is stationary, not actually going around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour as the sun is going 500,000 miles through the galaxy. So how is that possible? So I had to try and make it simple for like saying, okay, assume you are walking down the road, down the street, through the countryside. I don't care where you're walking. You're just walking in a straight line, and you're getting annoyed by a buzzing fly. So as you're walking along 4 or 5 miles per hour, you've got a fly buzzing around your head, and it's just out of arm's reach. It's just at that point where you can't swat it away, but it's just going buzz, buzz. It's orbiting you. Now, as you're walking along in a straight line, the fly has to be doing this. It has to be speeding up, then slowing down, and getting around you, and speeding up again to get past you, then slowing down, then come back around. It's speeding up, slowing down, speeding up, slowing down. That is orbital mechanics around a moving body. Now we know that the Earth doesn't orbit the sun once a day. It takes a whole year to go right around it, so we know we're not speeding up and slowing down that much. However, in relation to where you are on this spinning ball, which is approximately 8,000 miles diameter, if the sun here is on the inside and this is the outside of the ball and is moving forward, then the outside circle is taking a bigger path all the way around eventually over a year compared to the inner side facing the sun the whole time. It's a smaller side. It's only 8,000 miles, which is nothing over 93 million miles, you know, it's not relevant. But the fact is that the outer circle is bigger. And on the Earth scale, that means it's at a position. So as it spins around to here, this point here facing the sun there, this point is sunrise. It's coming around and sees the sun. And as it comes around, it's midday. And as it comes back around again, it's sunset and it's dark all night long. And it's doing this. And as it's traveling 1.6 million miles in that direction in the orbit for one day, that means the equivalent of being here at sunrise means you're at the front of the Earth. And the ball is moving that way in general, but it's spinning. You know, once, everybody, 3 people know what a day is, once per day. That's what the ball is doing. So you know that here at the front, you're at the front, let's say it's like a train, but it's a wrecking ball train. It's a cannonball. Shoot a cannonball now. Let's catch a cannonball now. Get it right. Catch a cannonball now. On down the line. So the front is this point where, relative to going forward, is now starting to move backwards. Ooh, baby, it's doing a big cosmic ballet. It's going backwards, it's going forwards. So that means when it hits the back, that sunset is the back because the sun is the middle, what you're going around. So this must be the back because the forward motion is what creates the year. So when you're at the back now, this would be where you start swinging around and start going forwards again. So you can imagine if you're going like this, but still going forwards, at some point, because we all live on a point of the ball, it's going to be going faster and slower, faster and slower, faster and slower. And it works out that at 67,000 miles per hour going that way, as we're spinning at 1,040 miles an hour this way, it means when we're going backwards to the point we reach the slowest place, we're going 44 times the speed of sound, as we call Mach 44. And then you start accelerating again until you reach the front, and then slow down again. We can start slowing down for the rest of the day. You've reached Mach 88. And they say it's a constant speed. Oh, a constant speed. This is like the fly going around you, speeding up and slowing down, speeding up and slowing down. Well, just because you're not a fly going around the Earth, you're still on it, it's still a ball. It's still a spinning ball. So it's the equivalent of being like the fly around the centre of the ball. Only you're 4,000 miles away from the centre. So 4,000 miles. And the moon, of course, being however many thousands of miles they said it was away from us, must be going even faster in order to be appearing to just waft around us once every 24 hours and 50 minutes in order to go backwards around us once in 27.3 days. So it's, to put it in perspective, when somebody says it's constant, okay, let's say there's a car in a car park, it's parked and it's still, and you're walking around it. Sorry, I can't do hand signals, I've got onions to chop. You're walking around the car, you're going at a constant speed around the car. It's simple, right? You can say, yes, I can walk all day long around and around and around the car I never speed up, never slow down, not a problem, constant speed. You do no big deal. Now let's say that the car starts to roll, that somebody jumps in it, starts it up and says, oh, there's some maniac walking around my car. I don't want to run over him, so I'm just going to crawl away, just 5 miles per hour. Now this guy that's walking around the car now, as this car's going forwards just very, very slowly, he's all of a sudden going to have to speed up to catch up with the car as it moves away from him, rush across in front of it so that it doesn't hit him, and then slow down as the car keeps going and come back around. And in order to keep the same distance around it that he was doing the whole time that the car was sitting still, means he is speeding up quite a bit to get in front of it, and still speeding up, and he's sort of like big elliptical orbit now he's starting to go, just to stay a constant distance away, as the moon must have to do around the Earth, or the ISS for that matter, just to keep the constant distance from us. But hold on a second, the Earth isn't just going 5 miles per hour, it's going 67,000 miles per hour. So put that into perspective, it's not just a walk in the park anymore, the car park. It's a bit of a, how do you do, man? Get your running shoes on. Garlic won't go astray. I don't use this as my real garlic. I use this chopped up stuff as my real garlic. It's got picked up flavour. This stuff I just use to sweeten it up. Cheap flavouring, but at least it's made out of garlic. Nothing like the real stuff which you chop up yourself, which I prepared earlier, thinking I should be talking away while I'm chopping this up, because it's a time-consuming job. So instead of that song in my head, got your cannonball now, take me down the line. I said, hey Moses. One of these days I'm going to learn how to remember lyrics to songs. But it's not going to be this one. How cool is this, eh? I started soaking these yesterday. Chickpeas! Yow! Because when you're broke and vegan, doesn't mean you have to sacrifice healthy eating when you can find chickpeas you've had in your cupboard for the last 5 years. It was once full too, I might add, but I hardly ever use them. I prefer the canned ones because all you got to do is dump them in, and the juice in the chickpeas, handy tip for anybody that doesn't like to use eggs in recipes that fall for eggs, you can drain that juice out and then use it as an egg substitute. It's like a binder, so you're making veggie burger patties or something. So anyway, what the fuck was I talking about? Alright, that's what we're going to get to. We're getting to the chase. I have to open it up on this thing because, oh good, there's no new ones, so I won't have as many to have to respond to. Gravis replied, French Crow. I'll click on French Crow because I think.
Hello from your new home in paradise.
Fucking people that put ads on their bloody videos. Okay, so I'm just going to read through. It's got 19 responses now. Read through these responses while I keep What's the next thing I've got to do? I've got to keep cooking. Multitask. Beer solves all problems. Okay, yep. I do believe it's sinking low. Oh, here we go. I've still got some ginger left. This is what I made from when I juiced the ginger the other day for the home brew, which is just about ready to bottle. I don't know if I use those chunky bits, but ginger good. This is home brew, by the way. I like to put ginger in it. Okay, so let's just read. Let's read, and then we'll come back to the courage shortly. This is my response to Mr. Greater Sapien, who, as far as globetards go, and I don't use that word lightly, anybody in this day and age who still believes we live on a globe, you're a globetard. There's no polite or nice way to put it. I'm sorry that you're a globetard. I've done my best to try and convince you not to be a globetard, but if you still do, that means you're ignorant, stubborn, and you're a globetard. But I at least try to be polite about it, which is why I said this so nicely. Mr. Greater Sapien. I didn't say that to him at all. I said, brother man, just because we disagree about the reality of a flat stationary Earth, while you were brainwashed into the delusion of the magic spinning space ball, does not for 1 second mean I think of any of you ballers as enemies. Heaven forbid. We're truthers, looking out for our fellow man, even those that hate us and wish us dead and incapable of breathing, and would like to push us off the edge if ever such a deluded concept existed on an infinite plane fixed at the bottom of the universe. I can see why people say I write a bit convoluted. So when I see you talking about enemies, I'm genuinely saddened to think that a truth movement arrived to set us free from deception, delusion, and debt slavery, and show us the way into the coming golden age, has some of us fighting like playground children who forgot to grow up. Where did it all go so wrong? I'll suggest maybe that when we cling to a belief so firmly, especially one so ridiculous that to even question it has the true fanatical believer so angry that someone dares to suggest that they've been fooled their whole lives. I mean, this is the holy grail of all deceptions here, the educated adult Santa Claus. I did that deliberately, wrote clause. Seeing if anyone would pick on me for a typo, but no, they know what I mean. Santa being an anagram of Satan. It ignites something within the deceived so bitter and strong that they take it out upon the messenger, refuse to accept the truth and go to any lengths to hold on to their beliefs to the point they'll die defending it. Sounds like a religious fanaticism to me. Now, if I left the A out of that, would have sounded better. Sounds like religious fanaticism to me, but I didn't. I put it in there, and typo or not, it's there. At the end of the day, we need to recognise we all, no matter what we believe, have one common enemy, and it shouldn't be each other. Time to call a truce, mutual respect and mature adult discussion if we must still get to the bottom of this one major deception. Ignore the trolls, they're on both sides, but at the end of the day, we're the only human race we've got. Let's not kill each other in the race to the finish line. Let's break bread together and show the powers who ought not be that they have no power over us. We're bigger than them. We're bigger than this. All beliefs make this melting pot the spice of life. As I open up some spice to put into the melting pot. And the variety of opinions only make the menu taste better. Let's make this menu better. Menu well. Oh yeah. Let's use the whole thing, eh? I like to get to know you well. I like to get to know you well. I'd like to get to know you well, so we can. You know what? I'm not even gonna fart ass about. For some reason, I normally use a non-stick pot, but I'm a bit concerned about Teflon and aluminium. So I'm just going to put coconut cream in quickly because everything's sort of sticking to the bottom, and once you get some fluid in there, it takes care of itself a lot better. Now we're cooking. Ordinarily I take a lot more care and a lot more time doing what I'm doing, but because I'm talking to you guys and responding to responses here now, I just click on view all 19 replies. Might have to skim through some of them, but yeah, normally I spend more time focused on what I'm cooking. I'll better put some Himalayan pink salt in it. Alright, scrape the back stuff off the bottom. Oh, that was really smart, dude. Just flipped it all over me. There. Good thing it's winter, hey, because that would have burnt. Funny thing is, when I burn, I've flicked hot oil on me, just small amounts, hot boiling water, you name it. If you don't panic, you don't get burnt. I mean, if you stuck your hand in it, fair enough, yeah, you'd burn. If you just get a splash of hot on you, and sort of don't even respond to it, don't even say ow, it cools down immediately, it doesn't even leave a mark. So there's a little cooking tip for you for today. Same as when you cut yourself. If you don't respond to the cut, just close it up, maybe stick it together with a band-aid for overnight. In the morning it's perfectly fine. And as soon as you panic and give it some energy, it's like, I've hurt myself. Oh dear, I need stitches. Sorry, I digress. Okay, so the first person that responds is CN machining is fun. CNC machining is fun. Can you prove that the Earth is flat and stationary? No. So he asks a question and then he answers it. Well, you can't really prove anything. Which is why I responded to him with my response as I did. There's another one in between here. Here's my response. Can you prove you live on a spinning space ball going 4 different impossible speeds at a combined rate of 2.8 million miles an hour? I know I didn't Google that final one before, so I probably should just adjust it. Just adjust it to 500 plus 67. Let's just say it's a round figure of 600,000 miles an hour, even though the one around the greater tractor is the one, you know, the one I last Googled was the sun, not the galaxy itself moving around the greater tractor. That's the extra 2.2 million, combining 2.8. So, you know, it's a nonsensical question because I could ask you to prove anything, like prove you are real. Not just because you can receive electrical impulses into your brain and project electrical impulses into mine, and I can read those impulses as a way of communicating through a device, read the words and so on and so forth. It doesn't mean that none of this is a figment of my imagination. There's that philosophical conundrum that says you are a computer construct you only created 2 seconds ago, and everything you've believed up to this point has been programmed into you as a false belief you never even existed until just now. That's all a computer program. All your memories, all your future that's been set out to you, that's all programmed into you as well. Everything is a part of a program, and there is not a thing that can prove otherwise. It's a philosophical conundrum. Some might even say, it's not a paradox, it's a conundrum. It says that you cannot prove it because the past and the future and the here and now, there's only the here and now. And if it is a computer program, the past and the future don't exist. They're figments of your imagination. Even being here and now is just as much a figment of the imagination, because you might not even be here and now. You might be somewhere in a galaxy far, far away, dreaming this and thinking it's real, and then waking up and saying, man, that was just a dream, but it took a whole lifetime to have. And it's like, yeah, that's how it works. You know, you come into this place, you pay your money, we plug you into the machine, you go and have a life. And then when you come back here, we unplug you, and then you just go, oh, wow. So it wasn't real, it was all program. And then they do it to you from another one and say, yeah, that was also a program. So you program yourself into a program, into a program, into a program. Just as we can create Sims who learn and grow to develop their own Sims, and those Sims become Sims of Sims of Sims. You know, it's up and down the scale every single way. You don't know anything, you can't prove anything. So to ask somebody who has a different belief from you to prove their belief when you can't even prove your own is a nonsensical question. You cannot prove shit. Structure Agency says, that was kind of you. Learning across differences is important. I'm not sure exactly if that says learning across differences. Learning across differences. Okay, I know what you're saying, but I'm just trying to analyze it correctly. It is important to accept differences of different people, and I think it's much. I actually support a lot of what Flat Earth movement is about, and think it's much maligned and misunderstood. I've been down much stranger and more difficult rabbit holes. It's actually why I'm drawn to guys like Greater Sapien. Keeps me grounded in critical thinking because I have no problem getting far out. I agree with that 100%. That's why I also like Greater Sapien, because you need balanced argument without getting fanatical about it and saying, go kill yourself, go throw yourself off the edge, don't breed. I've got 3 beautiful children. The 2 eldest are both doing double degrees in chemical engineering. My youngest one is in her first year of studying veterinary science. So to tell me not to breed when I've created 3 beautiful, intelligent, kind human beings, I'd like to see you do better. So anyway, I'm not talking to you, obviously, Structure Agency. My response that I've written so far was, cheers, mate. I don't mind the guy, Greater Sapien. We've all believed in lies before, and his defense of them is quite admirable. It's just unfortunate that the urge to want to believe overrides the ability to investigate and accept that you've been lied to. This whole episode might be a wake-up call, because the whole reason that he's making these videos is because he was lied to and deceived again, in an effort to try and do something to prove the globe, which I was trying to tell him right from the start. As soon as I realised this is what he's doing, my comments to him were, I think, great, good luck, hope it works. I'm looking forward to seeing the results too. I wanted as much as anybody to see this circumpolar navigation of the globe that you all believe in. But I said, I'll tell you what you're really going to do. What's really going to happen is you're going to leave from Argentina, or I think it's Argentina, somewhere in South America, might be they take another leg to the bottom of South America first before going around to Perth, Australia. And they're saying that they're going to go under the ball and come back up the other side at Perth. And I said, no, what you're really going to do, because the Earth is flat, you're going to keep flying south, sort of southwest slightly, until you reach Antarctica, which we know is the ice wall, a massive continent, perhaps many, many of the highest mountains in the world. We don't deny the existence of Antarctica. That's impenetrable in virtually all places by boat because of the ice wall. You can fly over it. You can go hundreds, maybe 1,000 miles. I don't know how far you need to go, and then you'll say, because you can see it on your compass, that we've gone south, 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 and then because you're so far with no landmarks, nothing to gauge anything by, the plane is just going to gently turn around, and then the captain can announce, we've just passed the pole, and if you look at your compasses now, we're heading northwest again. And then you come back up around and you say, we just flew over the pole, we've gone around the globe. But it doesn't prove you've done that at all, especially on the flat plane that we know. I mean, you can go over the North Pole, that's not a problem, because it's the centre of the flat plane we live on. That is how everybody keeps asking me for maps. And I may as well explain that one now too while I'm here, because the maps were created by people using the compass in the first place. The compass points towards the northern centre. What else does a compass do? You use a compass to draw circles. So you draw circles. Here's the North Pole, everything points towards there, everything pointing towards Polaris, the fixed star. It's common sense then that you're going to measure all your geographical locations as the amount of distance away from the northern centre. So they're your lines of latitude going around and around. Oh, I've really got to add some more spices to that. We've got some cinnamon, cardamom, coriander. I'm going to do that while I'm still talking. So, nutmeg. I don't want nutmeg. Cumin. I don't need that one. Ginger. Coriander. Oh, where can my coriander be? Do not get away from me. What's this one? Well, cardamom. Alright, so hopefully that's sunk in so far about how compasses make circles. And as your great hero of astrophysics says, once you reach the equator, below the equator, because there's up and down space, once you go below the equator, it all goes a bit pear-shaped. And why does it go pear-shaped? Because the circle keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But it shouldn't do that because you believe you're on a globe and it's not meant to go pear-shaped. But that's when they should start fabricating everything from that point on and say, well, okay, well, we'll just keep quiet about this because we've been telling everyone it's a globe for so long now, we don't want to look like idiots. And it is a globe. We know it's a globe. We've known it for thousands of years. As though every other ancient superstitious belief is ridiculed because it's so ancient and old. But when it comes to our beliefs, we live on a spinning ball in space. Believing it for thousands of years gives it strength. It's our tradition, our value, our ancient, superstitious, sun-worshipping cult beliefs. You moron! Go jump off the edge! You know what I mean? This is the mentality of the... I'm out of words. I haven't even put the rice down. Oh, where can my baby be? The love so far away from me. It's not the heaven, so I gotta be good. So I can see my baby when I leave this world. It was late at night and my daddy's car. Oh, we hadn't driven very far. There on the road, straight ahead. Car was stalled, the engine was dead. To the left, then I swerved to the right. Never forget the sound at night. The screaming tires, the bursting glass. Painful sound that I heard last. Best before 24th of September 2013. If I turn the 3 into an 8, it's still good for another month. Alchemy! Nah, still fucked. I'll bin that one. So, where were we? CN machining dude come back. Ross, you made the claim, so you have to prove it. Girlfriend. No, I don't. I don't have to prove shit, mate. Oh, hang on. I responded. Oh, there's another comment in between. I'll read that one first. Sanders. You click to read more. Ross, do not confuse knowledge with beliefs. Nobody believes in the globe, and that includes the greater Sapien. We know the Earth as it is, as you put it, a spinning ball. There's, however, no magic behind it. Well, except for gravity, dark energy, dark matter, spinning, not feeling any of it. Atmosphere in a vacuum. Curving water. That's just the first couple off the top of my head. I could probably find 200, given we line up, but there's no magic. No magic behind it. The Earth being a sphere has been proven beyond a shadow of doubt thousands of years ago. Each day we can observe the proofs. Observe. Don't put the R on the end, please. Each day we can observe proofs for spherical shape of the Earth. Once in a while we get a really spectacular one like the lunar eclipse from a while ago. As to the flat Earth concept, you don't even have a one model everybody agrees on. That's true. We don't. And I'll be the first to admit it, I disagree with heaps of people with their flat Earth models because none of us really have a freaking clue, and you can't model reality. That's the whole point of it. To see reality, you go outside and you look at it. You don't sit inside and make little models. Say, this is how it works. This ball spins around that ball, and that ball goes around that ball, or this ball does that. And if we pull it millions and billions of miles, and we make all the stars millions and billions of billions of billions of miles away, so that they never appear to move at all in relation, but our model works, and we can make predictions from our model. We can predict eclipses. It's like, for fuck's sake, are you kidding me? The astrolabe, based on the geostationary flat Earth, observing the fixed firmament of stars revolving around above us since forever, has worked and has predicted all that stuff for thousands of years, which means it must be real because we've known for thousands of years. So, so here's my response to CN machining is fun. I don't have to prove a darn thing. I set out to prove the Earth was globular and spinning and racing around the sun going 1.6 million miles a day. That's why I'm stubbornly now a flat earther. And you're more than welcome to prove the globe for yourself and stop being a fanatical believer. There's a big fat lie in belief. See, I don't believe the Earth is flat. I don't know the Earth is flat. I suspect it's the most likely model based on the observation of what we do see. We know that water finds its own level. I nearly said flat level, but we know that oceans are wavy and bumpy and waves crash and the swell and the wind and all that sort of stuff. Now, how do you get wind on a spinning ball if the whole atmosphere is moving with the spinning ball? The wind is the atmosphere. Come on. Anyway, we're going too far too quick. I'm never going to get through these comments here. We're nearly at an hour already. I think I'll just let it simmer a bit longer now. I'll chuck the chickpeas in. A bit more salt. Stir this baby up. Alright. I think this is going to be a pretty good curry. I'm just trying to finish this beer because it's getting long. Okay. The flat and stationary plane is obvious. Just study water without preconceived indoctrinated beliefs about magical, unprovable gravity. Just look at it. How big does your coffee cup have to be before one edge can be lower than the table it sits on and the coffee will still stay in? This is the question that I throw at every single person when I introduce them to flat earth, when they start saying things about curvature and all the rest. How big does your coffee cup have to be? Because this is what you believe on the globe. In fact, I think we should change the globe to the golf ball. I really do. I think we should. I'm going to start calling it the golf ball now, because this is the other biggest thing I constantly argue every day on Facebook with the globe heads who say that they see the ships going over the curvature. Yeah, I'm saying curvature now, and I'm spelling it with a K and a B and a TCHA at the end, curvature, because there's no curvature. And if you see the ocean rising to eye level, but you know it's below your foot level and you think it's curving away the whole time, then why is it rising up to eye level to a certain point that we call the horizon in the first place? Because that is perspective. This is how it works. You're this high, you're 1 inch on a 3,000 inch trajectory, to put it into down to scale. You're 1 in 3,000, you're 6 foot, you see 3 miles. It's not quite 3,000 actually, it's a bit less, but let's just give you the benefit of the doubt. So it's 1 in 3,000. If you double your inch, you're all of a sudden seeing way much further. And this is how it works over a flat surface, not over curvature, because the curvature should be curving away right from the bottom of your feet at the rate of this 8 inches per mile per mile. So at 2 miles, it's 2 twos are 4, 8, 32 inches. At 3 miles, it's 6 foot below. So at 3 miles, that's why it cuts off there. But you're 6 foot high. It should be still here, but it's not. It's up here at eye level. Hail eye level. That's maybe where Hitler got it from, eh? Hail eye level. Earth is flat and stationary. You did not see that coming. Okay. Neither did I, actually. The point is, you see it rising to eye level, and then you start seeing the boats going over the curvature bottom first. So you watch the bottom disappear, and then slowly the tops. That means everywhere you're looking out from your spot on this ball you think you live on is going up, away from you. So you're living in like a dimple of a golf ball, and it rises up to 3 miles in all directions. And then it goes over the curve. And it does the same thing for everybody. So you don't even understand the first thing about perspective to even think that it rises up to eye level in the first place. That's just perspective. That the ground we live on rises up to eye level. However high you go, you keep seeing at eye level. There goes the comments turned off. It's because perspective, by living on a flat plane, our eyes bring everything below our feet to fill half our field of view. In your room, I'm looking across the floor, it fills half my field of view. You look up into the ceiling, you'll see the parallel line of the ceiling moving furthest away from you appearing to go down. So things above your head go down, things below your feet go up, and then they hit the convergence point. And things above the ground level can be seen much further because they're higher. But the bottom part is obstructed by this artificial horizon your eyes created. That is what the horizon is, created by your eyes, by your ground level, rising up to eye level, and then cutting off everything at ground level, while everything above it is visible. Fucking magic, perspective. Oh, so that's how the sun sets, because it's so high it appears to go down, even though it's going parallel. And that is why the Freemasons have this symbol, the compass. The compass, there's that word again. And the set square. The compass and the set square. Our vision, how we see, means we're sitting at the bottom of the set square, and the ground, which is parallel, appears to rise up. And appears to rise up that way, while the sun comes up and it goes 15 degrees every hour because it's on the compass line, following a big pyramid line, even though it's a parallel line, because perspective in distance distorts things and makes it look like a big pyramid above us. So the sun goes this 15 degrees the whole time. That's why it's called a pyramid, because the fire within, showing what's happening to the fire we see without, but we only see it within because everything is inside our heads anyway. I'm starting to sound like a fucking raving lunatic now, which is awesome because I'm getting into character. Woo. Okay, so that's your first lesson of perspective. This is Thatcher's law of perspective. Hold your fingers like this. I call it Thatcher's law of perspective because that's my last name, Thatcher, and I invented it. And if you hold your fingers like this in front of your chest and you look down at it, what do you see? What do you see? If you look at the camera here, you'll see my thumbs and little fingers perfectly aligned. But from my perspective here, my little fingers are filling up half the pyramid made within. They rise up like that. That's how it looks to me. But to you, well, that's how you'll see it if you look at it for yourself. But They are flat and level. Bring it up to eye level and you'll see how flat and level your thumbs and little fingers actually are. That's the flat plane. And your fingers, that's the parallel line that the sun makes as it appears to go in the distance. It appears to go down. And as it comes up in the morning, it appears to rise up. But it's a parallel line. That is how everything works on flat Earth when you understand perspective. And that is why in the Freemasonic symbol, the compass represents the all-seeing eye of the sun at the top of the pyramid. While the ground is called, can I hear anybody say it? Let me hear it. What kind of square? What kind of square? A sunset square. Oh my God. Woohoo! We are fucking understanding perspective now. The Freemasons have shown us all along with their symbol. The compass and the square. They're just parallel lines. And how we see it in our eyes, which create the horizon. Oh, God bless them. God bless them. They were giving us clues all along, putting it in plain sight. They put it on the dollar bill. The all-seeing eye detached from the pyramid because the sun is not attached. It's free-flowing. But it is the all-seeing eye. Illuminati. Hello. What does the sun do? It illuminates. All in plain sight the whole time. Shit. Alright. I digress. Hey, got a walking stick. This is a ripper, isn't it? It is so flimsy. Boing, boing, boing. And yet, I can put my whole weight on it and snap it in an instant if I wanted to. I don't want to. It's a subtle walking stick to create the illusion of a walking stick. Shut your ears. Oh yeah, baby. Now I don't like to brag. Well, I do when it comes to my beer. Let me grab a little glass and show you what good beer I brew. As much as I actually prefer drinking it out of the bottle because I don't have to strain it so much with my glorious facial hair. For the sake of television and the brew tube, cheers. I mean, come on. Can you deny the glorious beauty of that beautiful homebrewed beer? Who brews beer with a head like that? I brew beer with a head like that. And I brew it with a head like this too. I'll drink that. Damn, it's good to be a genius. Alright, so we got past the coffee cup thing. We got past the water thing. I hope you're still with me. French Crow comes along and he quotes me here, at the end of the day we need to recognise we all, no matter what we believe, have one common enemy. And then he responds, I can do that. However, you FEs, flat earthers, are harmful to the young minds on which the future of our world is based. We don't need reality deniers. We need to stand on the shoulders of giants, as my buddy Isaac said. Now that really piqued my curiosity. Stand on the shoulders of giants. Who are you? Did you know that Who is an ancient name of God? Well, who do you think put us here in this prison planet in the first place? See, this is the whole point of the Flat Earth movement, is the awakening to the fact that there might actually be more land beyond that verb, beyond Antarctica. This is the whole point of it. Captain Cook set out on a voyage to discover the Great Southern Land. That was not Australia. Australia was already known. It was known as New Holland. It had been known for 200 years. The Dutch discovered the west coast of Australia, realised it's inhabited, the Aboriginal people in many different tribes, tribal nations of their own right, already lived here. And that far, not that far from the fertile coastline, was nothing but bloody desert. It was like, there's nothing here. No point taking off these happy people. They've got their world sorted. We'll do a bit of trade with them and stuff, but they haven't got much of value because they live quite simple lives. So it's not really significant to the rest of the world. So Australia meant nothing, basically, to the rest of the world. You know, they like to conquer lands full of gold and, you know, places like South America and that, where there's a strong culture of beautiful, peaceful people. They want to come and invade places like that. Not Australia, they had nothing. That's why even the English, when they finally did conquer Australia, they called it Terra Nullius, meaning that there were no people living here, even there was over 500 different thriving countries living on this one continent. They said none of them existed. They're not even people. They're not even human. Fucking English. Anyway, so Captain Cook, after discovering the east coast and charting many thousands of miles of that, set off on his true voyage to find the Great Southern Land, which we now know is called the Iron Republic. You can look that one up and read about it for yourself and make up your own mind if you believe it's a work of fiction or not. I'm open-minded. I think it's possible. Anyway, this was the Great Southern Land he was really looking for, and he spent 3 years searching for a breach of the ice wall going around Antarctica. And after 3 years and some small number of days, he gave up in absolute frustration because he couldn't find a breach through the ice wall to find this land he was set out to do. And so he had to return as a failure. So he charted over 60,000 miles. Now, a lot of people try to debunk that, saying, no, that's how long his entire journey was, over 3 years, going here, there, zip, zip, blah, blah. But it took the British 2 years to release that information because they had to fabricate a story to explain this 60,000 mile journey over 3 years that they couldn't explain. So they just created a story. It took them 2 years to make it up and release it to the public. Disgusting. But anyway, that's the point is, we believe that there are other lands beyond Antarctica. Now you think about it. If we're prisoners here on our own device, who imprisoned us here? Who cut down all the giant trees? Who put the big glass bowl over us? Giants. Why would we want to stand on the shoulders of giants? The ones who cut down our glorious trees that made this place paradise. The trees that reached to the heavens, that meant it never rained, that filled this realm full of oxygen. Who knows how many times more than what we've currently got. It never rained because the trees up that high soaked up all the water through their leaves. They lived in amongst and above the clouds, and that's where we lived and thrived. they talk about the time when mankind came down from the trees as though we were primitive back then. We became primitives after that because the giants practically wiped us out. They cut down our trees, they mined all the ore, as you can see from places like the Grand Canyon, and I figure that's how they created the moon as an artificial satellite out of the raw silicon material they dug out of that old mining pit we now call the Grand Canyon. It was natural erosion, even though there's no other example of natural erosion that comes even close to looking like the Grand Canyon. So to stand on the shoulders of giants, our tyrants. See, when people talk about a creator, saying that the flat earth proves a creator, to me, I think it just as much proves the imprisoners, the giants that we appealed to. At least give us some night light. So it's all right, fuck it, we'll go in, we'll create a moon for you so you can see in the dark. Because we were so used to being able to see the sun 24/7 because we were up high enough to see the sun all the time, as the moon now does. So that's why some of us become lunatics. Music. Music God, you a fuckwit. I can't stand you. All you come in and do is spam. Get a leaf, Ross. It's spelled L-I-F-E, music God, not L-I-E-F. Get a leaf, Ross, as your ignorance is not welcome here. Coach of the Earth. Lakeway Center elevator. New Orleans elevator. Time-lapse of Earth and space. 360 degrees debunk the Earth. Himmel 8. All this same old crap. Bullshit. I don't want your crap. I don't know who you're working for. All I know is we're all victims of the great deceiver, the great deception that's going on. And for you, Stockholm Syndrome sufferers, supporting that and fighting for this belief, go fuck yourselves. Really roughly, without lubrication, with a fucking baseball bat covered with sandpaper. But I think we can still all get along, you know, don't get me wrong. Ondra Timka, so this is where I got up to. So this is what I'm actually responding to, and it's only 77 minutes and 40 seconds in. I better take a breath. Little bubbles around the rice water. Might be long to be able to put the rice on. Well, generally I can. I'm not sure about your 4 speeds, bud. But expect that there's some rubbish in your head which comes from your misunderstanding of basic physics, like reference forms, let's say reference frames, etc. Reference frames. I mean, you guys come up with these terms all the time, like reference frames and inertia. What about fucking reality? As I'm walking down the road and there's a fly buzzing around me at a constant distance away, it is going at a constant distance by speeding up and slowing down. There's no frames of reference, there's no inertia, there's nothing. It's just what it has to do to keep up at that speed. So if the Earth is spinning 1,040 miles per hour, going 66,600 miles an hour, around a sun going 500,000 miles an hour, those 3 different speeds alone have to be accounted for the moon to go around us at 2,280 miles per hour. It's got to be doing all those speeds plus 2,280. Otherwise it doesn't work because we've left it behind in the dust. So forget your frames of reference. There's no frame of reference without going the realistic actual speeds that matter. And if our entire galaxy is also going around a great attractor at 2.2 million miles per hour, which I doubt even Google knows. I might ask it later, if it could be stuff. Ask it yourself. There's your 4 different speeds. So it's not something in my head. I don't believe any of them. I believe nothing. I look around, I see and feel a stationary Earth, a beautiful sustaining, stationary Earth, Mother Earth. We're in her womb. And we think she's racing and hurtling and spinning through space. This is the thinking of men, of insane men who worship the sun, Lucifer, Helios, Apollo, and later called Jesus. Yeah, all with the 12 disciples. You know what the 12 disciples are? They're the 12 constellations, 12 months, 12, which is ridiculous because we've got 13 moons in a year. And there are actually 13 constellations as well, but they don't like to use that because, no, they like everything to be divided into 12. So it's 12 hours, 24 hours, 12 and 12. Everything wants to divide because it's a circle divides into quarters and then 12 equal parts, 12 houses of the zodiac, the sun in the middle. The sun is representing the 13, the Godhead, and everything revolves around it because this works for their model rather than reality of Earth being God, and we live in her womb, and she gives us everything we need. She provides the air we breathe, the water, the blood rushing through our veins, the food we eat, the beer we drink. The insects, the birds, the animals, all the creeping and crawling things, they all belong to Earth, Mother Earth. She is the creator, and we come from her, just like fruit pops out of a tree. And when we grow old and wither and die, we return back to the Earth. What better explanation for a God could there be than Earth? So how do they hide it? Heliocentric. We're an insignificant little speck. We mean nothing. We're in a random, chaotic universe. We are a random mutation accident. We came from nothing. We'll return to nothing. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Let's just kill off our Mother Earth. Let's rape and frack and call her finite and take everything we can from her and make profit out of you foolish cattle slaves working your lives away because you've been so indoctrinated for so many generations living on this spinning space ball. Well, it's good to eat, isn't it? You need a job so you can eat. You need to plant seeds so you can eat. And you save your best ones. You sacrifice them to God. You give them back to her. And then your next crop, the next year is even better. And then you save your best ones and sacrifice them to the God, to the Mother Earth. And every year you grow more and more and more bountiful. And then as you have more children, you're able to share more and more of your land with them. They can grow crops and they can have families. And it goes on and on forever. And we can spread this method out into the deserts because this is what we, the caretakers of the Mother Earth, are supposed to be doing. Not turning the bountiful places into deserts by paving it over and building mod con caves all over the place and living as cave dwellers. We're supposed to be living and making this place in paradise. But no, got to go to work, go and destroy the earth, and we'll give you some shekels so you can pay off your debt. And you'll spend your whole life paying off this debt, and then when you die, we'll take what profit you made to pay for your funeral. It's a fucking sham, the whole thing. So the whole purpose of knowing that there's more land, we don't need more land, but the fact that it does exist means maybe that's the promised land. And how do we escape this one? Well, we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to even want to escape it. But the fact that we do, the fact we're all being pushed into this debt slavery, and when there's such an abundance of wealth, and it's kept and held by the select few, that's what's gone wrong with this world. And this is why, if we're going to find freedom, well, we're not going to do it by thinking with the limitations they've given us, the idea of maybe building a whole shitload of helium blimps, well, helium is too expensive, so what can you do? You can make a hydrogen generator. So you can create hydrogen, does the same thing as helium. It is a bit more explosive, so you're going to have to be a bit more selective in what you build the shell out of, and make sure there's nothing flammable or combustible in it. And if you need to, then you also got some jet fuel, which you can use to propel your blimp through the air if you need to move in a hurry. But for the most of the time, you'll be using wind sails like a kite surfer or a paraglider. And you can, if enough of us all built blimps, hydrogen blimps, they can't stop us. We can be the biggest exodus in the history of the world, go over Antarctica, beyond it, and find these other continents and find the promised land. Don't ask me, this is just something I've been inspired with through my understanding of what every story in the history of the world has ever said. What did Moses do? He freed the slaves by opening up the Red Sea. He was wise, he was aware of the winds and local conditions and the fact that on a particular moon there's going to be a very low tide, and as they fled through the night across the sandbar, by the time the Romans or whoever it was that enslaved them found out about it, they got in their chariots and found, well, they don't go across sand so well, not wet sand. And then as the tide come in, they all got drowned. So he didn't part the sea. He didn't perform a miracle. He had an understanding of nature and natural cycles and local conditions, and he'd spent a lifetime understanding it and found a way to free the people at that time to that particular promised land. But we're still fleeing, as far as I'm concerned. So this is what the Flat Earth is all about. The new promised land. Getting all of the true believers of freedom, of free men on the land, out of slavery. And hopefully we can do it by staying here, where we know and love. I mean, I love Australia. I love where I live. I don't want to go anywhere. But they're making it so hard. They really are. I can't get a job. I've tried and tried. I had a good job. I made the mistake of trying to show up on time one morning, just before Christmas, when it's the time when you go out and have a few celebratory drinks with friends. And I had a few too many that particular night. So the next morning when I got pulled over on my way to work, to get there on time, they said, oh, you're over the limit. We're taking your license off you for 9 months and we're fining you a whole shitload of money. I was like, I'm only trying to get out of my slave job, for fuck's sake. Too bad. You drunk and drive. I wasn't drunk. I was fucking hungover. I'm going to work. I'm completely sober. There's nothing wrong with me. I've got a perfect driving record. Never had an accident in my life. No, you're over the limit. The person you killed, doesn't matter whether it was in the morning after or the night before. What person did I kill? Not one. None. Whose property did I harm? Nobody. But no. So I lost my job. Lost everything. Who gives a fuck? This is why we have to get out of this fucking totalitarian state into somewhere where they don't steal 85 or 90%, or in my case now, 150% of your income just to survive, just to get by. We should all be profiting. We don't need to be filthy, dirty rich. We need to get used to the idea of a nice, simple life. But that all came from the 4 speeds. Okay. Proofs for Earth as spherical, almost planet, in solar system with sun in almost centre of gravity, that in all that vast universe lays all around you. No. I can't see any proof of sphericity. I mean, that's round, but that doesn't prove the ground I'm standing on is. It's still flat and level on the surface, and I'm on the surface. Your blindness is not my problem, it's yours. Well, I do wear glasses. I don't actually need them to read this. In fact, I can take them off at times, but at the moment I'm not going to. But for beginning, you can try to tell me how can Foucault's pendulum work on your flat stationary Earth. It is well described and tested how it works on rotating spherical Earth and its effects. Example, reality. Perfectly fits to physical theory. So show me your equations of motion which can describe Foucault's pendulum precession on flat stationary Earth. Oh man, I must live on a globe. Look at that. Oh, look, it's moving. It's changing trajectory. It's moving with the spin. Go and look up a Foucault's pendulum, you dickhead. They have motors in them to keep them going. Only modern ones, mind you. Back in the day, they used to use witchcraft and demons to keep it going. But they ran out of the charms to make that work. No shit, I shit you not. You look it up. Pendulums, divining symbols. People that are well attuned to crystals can actually use a pendulum to detect how many bovises, I think it's called, for example, around a orgonite piece. I'm not going to go into that. You can look that up yourself. Orgonite. O-R-G-O-N-I-T-E. Look up orgonite. Use it. This is a piece of orgonite from my friend, Mr. Stephen Geddes, who makes orgonite, makes some beautiful pieces, and he was the one that told me that's how they use the pendulum to measure the amount of bovises or whatever come off it. Well, I read about it from him. He didn't tell me personally. If you bring some satisfactional description, come on mate, we've all got spell check. What's a satisfactional description? Statistical description, perhaps? I'll go with that. If you bring some statistical description of this, some on mathematics-based physical description, which is testable, then we can discuss it in more depth. Until then, I wish you best luck with finding of new physics. What new physics? It's the same physics it's always been. The absolute exact same physics. Mic drop is the key. Oh shit, it's heavier than air. You think it would have fallen sideways, wouldn't you? Nah, it just took the path of least resistance because air's not very buoyant to things of that amount of heaviness. What about, surely this won't fall at the same speed. It didn't, it fell slower because it has some air resistance and very light, very little mass. This is just ridiculous physics. It doesn't change. You measure the rate of drop of something through the medium of air. Whether I dropped a big jar of coconut oil, what if you did, if I held it that way so it doesn't have the air resistance, whatever you drop, doesn't matter how much mass it has, it doesn't get more attracted to the mass and fall faster. That's a proven fact, which disproves gravity. Because if you remove the factor of air altogether, the medium of air, and do it inside a vacuum chamber, as you do with the bowling ball and the feathers, and drop them at the same time, even the feathers fall at the same time. It disproves gravity and proves density and buoyancy. Airs are buoyant in air. Feathers buoyant in air because of the air resistance. The bowling ball's not. Remove the factor of air altogether inside a vacuum, they fall the same speed. How could that possibly be? It doesn't prove gravity, it disproves it. Gravity is a load of fucking bollocks. No new physics whatsoever. It's disproving the old superstitious belief that giant balls suck everything towards their centre, and it gets less and less as you go away. But what does air do? It gets lighter and lighter as it goes away. So gravity has less and less effect on less and less mass. But you say, yeah, but it still has some mass, so gravity holds it there. Between a vacuum, which would rather fill. Gravity is fucking nonsense. Absolute 100% fucking nonsense. Nothing sticks to the bottom of a ball. You pour water over a ball, it all drips off. I don't care how big you think your balls are, it still drops off. Mistake not, Ross Thatcher. Why is it so hard for you flat earthers to understand the universe? It's not hard to understand the principle or the maths, physics of the multiple directions the earth is moving through said universe, and that we wouldn't notice as these speeds are constant, not accelerating nor decelerating. There are more than 2 dimensions, you know. On a side note, do you deny gravity too? Wow, I must have predicted you were going to say that because I've already answered that. So let's go back to your first question because I didn't answer that one. I've already addressed the rest. Why is it so hard for you flat earthers to understand the universe? It's not. We don't believe in the universe. Well, I don't know what others believe. I believe if there is a universe, it's possible. I believe the physical plane, due to the laws of density and buoyancy, is the very bottom of the universe and probably extends infinitely everywhere, forever. So while I have no proof of the non-existence of the universe, I don't believe in it because I think it's nonsense. I think the stars you see at night, I'll look out that window out over there, if it wasn't raining, which is tonight, any night of the year, all year round, and I will see the Southern Cross. And I'll prove it to you. You can visit me any night of the year. I live right here in Clunes, New South Wales, Australia. 2 Walker Street, New South Wales, 2480. Drop me a line if you're going to, but come and visit me any time of the year. I'll show you the Southern Cross right out that window, right out that front door of this house. It's always there. Yet we're supposed to be on the sun, going around the sun on a ball, going around so 6 months later on the other side of the sun, facing 180 degrees the other way. Do you heliocentrists really believe the entire universe goes around the sun as part of your sun-worshipping cult? Because that's what you're trying to tell me. My understanding of the universe, I understand it perfectly because it's just part of the skyscape we see above us. And it revolves around above us while we sit here flat and stationary. So yeah, I don't understand your universe at all. In your universe, it's freaking chaotic. You've got the sun shooting through the galaxies, all the planets are spinning around it, round and around and around. But the stars are always the same. None of the constellations have ever changed. The Southern Cross is outside my freaking window every night of the year, year after year. And so far as I know, for at least the last 2 to 3 centuries, I'm not that old myself, but they put it on our flag. Let's go to the next one. Sandris, At Ross, you state, quote, "I don't have to prove a darn thing." That is incorrect. You put a thesis and you prove it. And another thing, stop being a fanatical believer. A second ago, you showed to be one. You do not do any research. Heaven forbid you might find you're terribly wrong. Just you firmly believe in flat Earth. Well, no, I told you, I don't believe. I take it as the best standing theory that I cannot debunk. I can debunk the globe like that. Just like that. Water level ends the story. Everything is measured above sea level. Earth has to be flat because otherwise, if you're standing at the coast, which I do quite often, I love going to the beach, I do it regularly. If I'm standing on the coast and I'm looking up the beach, I've got the water lapping my feet, coming this way, I've got the sand hills over there, and the sand hills, basically that's my horizon. I can't see beyond that, and it's only like 20, 30 metres away. Over towards the ocean, I can see several miles away, or as we like to say, kilometres. It's maybe 5 or 6 kilometres away, and that's 20, 30 metres. But if it's a globe, then the water rising up to my eye level over there, in the bottom of this golf ball dimple that you'd seem to think we live on, and the one in front of me, the one behind me, and the one over there, so I'm in the bottom of this weird shaped dimple. But beyond those points where I can see, I'm supposed to believe it all curves away downwards. So without those sand hills, just those tiny little sand hills there, this ocean would otherwise wash over my entire continent because it's curving downwards away from me because we're on a ball. Everywhere you go on the coast, you've got the same situation. What if you don't even have sand hills? What if you just got one of those little concrete banks like some of the beaches have, and then you've got the big tall buildings? Geez, lucky you got those little concrete banks there stopping the whole ocean just rolling into it. Good thing everybody's always on top everywhere, but what about the people out at sea and they look at it and they go, oh, those buildings are down below the curvature over there. They're in a bit of trouble, aren't they? But it's all right because everybody's always on top. How the fuck can everybody always be on top? Huh, if it's flat and stationary, problem solved. Robert Slater, Ross Thatcher, the delusions of the flat earth belief, as you like to spell it, are frightening. You perfectly exemplify many of those in the prose above. How you can describe basic things such as 2 centres of rotation in the stars or sunshine on the underside of clouds as it sets on a flat earth. These are self-evident examples, but just 2 of a basically infinite number of proofs to show yourself. If you studied swells going across the oceans, you would also see some starting south of Australia and not so magically appearing on the west coast of America, approaching from the south nearly 2 weeks later. This alone disproves any flat earth description attempt. You seem like a nice guy, but super misguided on this one. Quite easy. Waves travel across the flat surface of water. I mean, where do I start with these? The 2 rotations of stars. This is a good one. Okay. Let's imagine you're in a really, really massive warehouse. All the water's starting to boil. I'll put the rice on in a second. Where's my thingy gone? Lost my thingy. There's my thingy. Okay, so you're in a really big warehouse, a really high ceiling, and you get a projector down the bottom, right? In the middle of the floor that projects like a stellarium. And you project all the stars onto it with your Polaris right dead in the middle, and you start spinning it. So, in the north you say all goes anti-clockwise, right? So it's spinning and spinning like that. We're all good? We're all good? So you can see how anywhere you sat in the room somewhere towards the centre, if you set up a camera and did a bit of time-lapse photography, that the stars going around the centre would appear to make perfect circles around it. We see this in the star trails, exactly as we see on the flat Earth. If we were on a globe, however, and the floor was, slowly getting lower and lower way down to the equator, so you're going like thousands of miles away and pointing your camera up towards Polaris, well, the further away you went from the North Pole, the bigger the circle of your spin would be going. So as you kept it aligned and made star circles, it'd be going in this bigger and bigger elliptical as you got further away from the centre. But if you're right at the centre, you'd make perfect circles. But because it's a flat ceiling on a flat floor, you can actually be just about anywhere, align your camera with the North Pole, and you'll get perfect circles. This is how it works on the flat Earth. Quite simple. However, the whole thing, as we know, it's going anti-clockwise. Let's see, that way. Sometimes it's like that dancing lady thing. If you disfocus the right way, you see it going the other way. So, okay, you know that they're all going around the centre. Turn around now and look to the south at these things going around and around that way. And look, they're still going that way, but now they're going clockwise. How the fuck did that happen? Magic. No, you just turn around and look the other way, you dumbass. Fucking simple. Holy shit. Yeah, I watch the Southern Cross. It starts sort of there at one time of night, and by early in the morning, it'll have gone over there, but it doesn't do circles like stars do around Polaris, because I'm looking the opposite direction from the North Pole, facing the other way, and they're going that way from here. Now they're going clockwise. So freaking simple. Don't complicate shit. It works easily. Everything works so much easy on the flat Earth than this complicated bullshit about being on a spinning ball going around the sun. So you said there's two self-evident examples. Okay, so that was one. How can you describe basic things such as stars? Oh, sunshine underside of clouds as it sets. That one's fairly easy too. It's going to take me a bit longer to do that one because that's another perspective thing of light. Very few of us understand how light itself propagates. And that's one of the reasons why we don't understand why the sun, you'd think it should be shrinking as it goes away because it's distant, and it should get bigger when it's nearer, but because it's going on this pyramid line, as I've already explained, as it goes away, the light itself from the sun doesn't exist until it reaches a certain part of our atmosphere. And that's what creates the illusion of our visible appearance of the sun. And it's going to be different for every single viewer all over the plane. Doesn't matter where you are, your view of the sun is unique to you. And I can prove that very simply by you go for a friend, watch the sunset over water, and you tell your friend to understand 20 or 30, 40 meters away where you can still hear each other talking. And you watch the sun rays come across the water, the reflection, come to your feet, and you say, "Oi, those sun rays are coming to my feet. I can see it. Proof." And your mate will turn around and say, "No, mate, no, they're coming to my feet, not yours. You're wrong. You're deluded. I can see it. They're coming right to my feet. You're a fucking liar, mate. No, mate, you're friggin' deluded. What have you been smoking? They're coming to my feet. You see what I mean? Everybody has their own point of view, their own perspective of the light. And it happens because of the way you see it. That's called perspective as well. Perspective covers a huge field. That's why I have my first few videos of Thatcher's Law of Perspective already started. I've got many more to come. That being part of it. The next one about light itself. But the distance occurs because the atmosphere lights up, and that's what creates the illusion of the height of the sun. And the more distant it is, the lower it appears to the horizon because of the distance. And because it lights up the atmosphere to create daylight, you know for a fact that the person way over there, when you're looking at the sun, where the sun is nice and dark orange and the sky is going all pink and orange and purple and all the beautiful colours, that the people way over there where the sun is overhead to them, they don't see any of those colours. The sky is blue, the sun is bright. They don't see what you're seeing. You see it from your perspective. And because of all these different layers of atmospheric gases that create these different neon colours of the sky that you're seeing, your beautiful different oranges and reds and blue and you name it, some of that is also lighting the clouds on the other side away from the sun. And they will also appear to light the underside of them because water itself has a magnification effect. That's why they use those things in a lot of these third world countries now, where you take an empty soda bottle, you empty it, remove the label, fill it with water, chuck some chlorine in to stop any bacteria or algae growing, put the cap on it and stick it in a hole in the tin roof, and it acts as a light that lights up the whole house while the sun is shining, because the water captures it and magnifies it. Clouds are basically doing the same thing because they're made out of water molecules. So they capture the light, they illuminate by it, and because of all the different layers of the neon gases, you have different coloured clouds on the opposite side from where the sun's already set over the mountains. I mean, the sun is set behind curvature according to your globe belief. How can the clouds be lit at all? At all! Fuck. So there's two easily debunked things which you say. How can you describe basic things as two centres of rotation in the stars or sunshine on the underside of clouds as it sets on a flat Earth? These are self-evident examples, but just two of a basically infinite number of proofs to show yourself. So there you go. I've easily debunked them with a bit of common sense and understanding of how perspective works. Studying the swells, that's ridiculous. This alone disproves any flat Earth description attempt. You seem like a nice guy. Well, I can be, but I don't suffer fools gladly all the time. Psychotic Ewok. Okay, then everyone but you is brainwashed. Something that would make me consider you flat Earth hypothesis is a working model that explains everything as well as the current accepted model, and I'm sorry, but you not understanding something and claiming globe Earth is some sort of lie doesn't mean it is. Have you ever heard of a thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect? Yeah, I've heard. Alright, well, where are you starting here? Okay, then everyone but you is brainwashed. Well, no, I'm brainwashed too. We're all a bit brainwashed. I grew up as a child. I loved the Idiot Box. We had a black and white television. And every day I'd get to watch Sesame Street. Open Sesame. So you'd open up your mind and you get brainwashed with all this shit. Arf, arf. We're all brainwashed. Some of us get past it. Some of us don't. I'm not saying everyone but me is brainwashed. But some of us are far more brainwashed than others. That's a fact. I wish you could write coherent sentences, psychotic Ewok. Current accepted model. Well, it's not accepted. There are many people disputing it. They've always been disputing it. And just because it's what you think is accepted because that's the one they taught you in school, who do you think owns all the schools? Who do you think owns all the hospitals? Where have all the alternative medical practitioners gone? The ones that actually heal people rather than ones that create customers for life and treat their symptoms, but never, ever heal somebody. I mean, if you are so stuck in this Stockholm syndrome of worshipping these people who have foisted this world upon you, then you've done no research over the years of all of the last 100 years of history. You probably still think the Titanic was the Titanic. You don't even realise it was the Olympic or the Olympus or whatever they call it that actually sank as an insurance job and killed off a whole heap of people, the ones who are against the Federal Reserve even happening in the first place. You got no idea of the people who are running this world and filling your head full of bullshit. Learn some freaking history. Learn what's going on. Don't rely on a flat earther to try and explain everything for you. If Earth was indeed flat, it would be very easy to prove, even more so if you describe it to having a firmament. I don't know about the firmament. My thoughts about the firmament is, have you ever heard about those deep sea submarines? Where these guys discovered an underwater lake. And they're going, what? Wait a second, we're already underwater. How can there be a lake with little waves lapping the edges? That made no sense to them. But it was there. It's been filmed. You can see it. You can look it up. And the people in the submarine said they decided to descend into it to see what's down there. And they bounced off it. And they said they saw ripples coming off from where they hit it. Like waves, like when you throw a rock into a pond. Created ripples across the surface. Well, it's the way I think that the firmament might exist, if it does exist. I mean, for fish, there's a firmament called water level. They can jump out of it for a while. You've even got some flying fish that can go through the air for a while, but they still come back down and have to live in the water. Well, the way I see the firmament is something a little bit like that. I mean, I don't think we can even go through it. I think we'd be like the submarine, but when we hit it, we bounce off. And it might even create ripples. When there are examples of people filming what they call a lunar wave, where they've seen a ripple go across the moon. Maybe that was something trying to exit and created a ripple, and they just happened to capture it on film. I don't know. I don't know that there's a firmament. I gather that it makes a lot of sense because the stars that we do see appear as though they are sonoluminescent twinkling lights, as we expect to see in an underwater environment. Who knows? The biblical explanation that I've come across, because I'm not a Bible follower and I'm not a Bible reader, but I don't discredit it just because I'm not a big fan of it. I think there might be some truths in there. I just don't like a lot of it. But their explanation for it is it really stretches out more like a tarpaulin. Now, when you stretch out a tarpaulin, you usually stretch that out flat and level, not in a dome firmament. Then again, the idea I came up with before about if we're imprisoned by giants who created this great big crystalline ice blue type of freezing cold bowl and chucked that over the top of us, that could explain a dome. That would also be a firmament. But if the beliefs say we've got a tarpaulin type thing stretched out above us that separates waters above from waters below, I don't know. I've never been there. I can't test it for myself. I'll go with my best guess and say there's something. There's something separating from us that we can't go through. Hillary Clinton is famous for repetitively saying this greatest glass ceiling. We know about Operation Fishbowl, where they send up nuclear bombs, hundreds of them, to try and crack through whatever they thought they were trying to crack through. Well, I mean, why would you test bombs up in the atmosphere when bombs are generally tested down on the ground or buried in the ground or on innocent populations of people? Why would you send them up? try and break this great glass ceiling. Plus, then there was also that silly Simpsons episode where Homer hits a home run. Oh, he's cracked the ceiling, and the sky comes crashing down. There's lots of clues to suggest there may be a firmament. I don't know. The fact that we have satellites disproves this. We don't have satellites. I've already explained the various speeds that we are going. How the hell does an inanimate object fall around us at thousands and hundreds of thousands of miles as we're speeding away from it and towards it at times? No, if we've got satellites, they're attached to something like a helium balloon or a blimp, and they're sitting above a stationary Earth. That's the only way satellites could exist. Otherwise, they're on tops of towers, on tops of tall buildings, on tops of tall ships. They're on tops of the towers on mountains all around us. There's your satellites. There's nothing orbiting. We do have satellite FYI, and I can prove it, but you're going to claim it's all fake. Yes. No, not all fake. I told you how they work. The issue with the flat earther movement, and let's just go back one more second quickly, just the satellites. Check out radio signals. Satellites are all radio. Radar is radio. Satellites is radio. They're all just different frequencies. They don't all work on the same frequency, but it's radio. Even some places you go to, your radio cuts out, you lose your signal. Same with your phone. Why would it do that if it's all satellites from up high? Way up high, covering this whole vast area. How could there be any black spots whatsoever? Maybe satellites don't exist. Maybe they're not even useful in the slightest, even if they did exist for telecommunications, because they're going thousands and thousands of miles per hour, thousands and thousands of miles away. Far out. The delay. I mean, we all know Richard Nixon could talk to the astronauts instantaneously on a wired telephone back in the late 60s. But now when they try to talk to them with modern technology on the International Fake Station, there's an 11-second delay when they remember. Sometimes they forget. Far out. I've seen the person presenting flat earth proof has a fundamental understanding of the very thing they are talking about. It's flat, it's stationary. What more is there to know? Psychotic Ewok has another go. And no, we can't break bread together. The flat earth movement is harmful to the future of our societies and must be pushed back against your idiocy, and misinformation cannot go unopposed. You're almost as bad as anti-vaxxers. They're only worse because they are putting people's lives directly at risk. Okay. Good to see the indoctrination working well in the psychotic Ewok. See, all the globe earth believers go under these fake names. Truthers like myself, I just use my real name. I've got nothing to lose. I've even given you my address, for fuck's sake. Would you like my mobile number as well? Well, how about instead of using up my load, as the Filipinos call it, how about you just look me up on Facebook? And then you can chat to me on Messenger, and we can have live chats. Or find me on Google, and we can go Google Hangouts, and it won't cost anything. And you can discuss anything you like with me. I'm happy to do that. Putting people's lives at risk. Well, I grew up in an era where we had maybe 6 vaccinations, and I did okay. When my kids were young, they started to want to give them quite a few more. So I looked into it, and I became an anti-vaxxer. And my kids are doing just fine. They were never sick. They hardly ever took a day off school. I had friends who, not that many, but I knew people who had kids one close friend in particular had 2 girls the same age as my 2 girls. I had a son in the middle as well. But after I had my first daughter, first couple of vaccinations and really looked into it, I said, we're not doing this again. No way. But the friends, the mother of those, she was a nurse. So of course they had to get every vaccination under the sun. And they were taking time off school all the time, constantly. In fact, the youngest one, now that my daughter is doing her first year of a science degree towards a veterinary degree, the other one is still back in high school, repeating high school again, even though they were both the same age when they started preschool together at a very young age, younger than I care to admit, to be honest. But we were trying to run a business at the time, and the preschool was just around the corner from us, and she loved it. My daughter thrived there, unvaccinated. And the point is, if vaccinations work, then how are the unvaccinated putting the vaccinated at risk? It goes the other way. The ones vaccinated with the disease are the ones potentially giving it to the unvaccinated. So you're threatening their lives. For what? For something you still need a booster shot for? I'd rather take my risks. I'd rather get the disease that never killed me. I got measles and mumps. I never got rubella. But I got those things when I was young. I got over it. I got immunity to it. I probably passed that on to my children. The disease rate was going way down, practically non-existent, thanks to innovations like plumbing, sewage, and water. Those 2 things virtually eliminated disease overnight. And the pharmaceutical industry said, hang on a second, this isn't working. How can we build up profits? I don't know. We'll create scare tactics and we'll inject the diseases into them so that it will spread to a certain number that don't get injected with it. And most of the ones who do, and then we'll say, oh, you probably didn't get your vaccination in time. Now look at the rates of don't get me started. I'm not here to talk about vaccines. Don't vaccinate your children. Don't inject anything toxic into their bloodstream, for fuck's sake. If you're going to get a disease, you get it through your respiratory system. That's where your immunity starts, here in the respiratory system, where you start to attack and fight it. That's why you get coughs and colds. That's why you develop mucus to capture the shit and cough it out and get rid of it. Inject it into your bloodstream and you're fucked. Lives directly at risk. French Crow. Ross, I'm sorry that everyone attacks you, including me, since you came here with a fraternal message. Cheers, French Crow. Yes, I did. Psychotic Ewok. And you say to CN Machining's fan, can you prove we live on the spinning ball? Yes, we can, but you just dismiss it as fake or say it proves nothing without understanding the evidence being provided to you. I understand it. That's the thing. I understand it better than any of you. That's why I became a flat earther. Back in high school, my friends would look at me like I'm mad because I'd say, well, it's not really sunset or sunrise. And they go, what the fuck are you talking about? Because it's sunrise and sunset. I said, no, it's actually Earth's spin, creating the illusion of sunrise and sunset. And then, you've got a point there. I understood this back in the freaking teens. And I knew more about it than anybody. I was a massive fan of the galaxy, the universe. I loved it. I really believed in everything. I used to go out and every chance I got, it's a full moon coming. Awesome. This only works because the sun and moon are opposite each other on other sides of the ball. So as the sun sets, if we go out on full moon night, we can watch it coming up as the sun sets, and I'd do it all the time. And I thought that was how it worked. It works just the same on a flat earth once you understand perspective and the sun and moon are opposite each other. And then because the moon takes 24 hours and 50 minutes per day to go around us again, that's why it rises 50 minutes later each day. That's not because anything to do with the spinning ball we're on. It's got to do with them moving around above us and understanding perspective, because it's a massive, big circle they take, to the point where, from our point of view, most of the time it appears to go in a straight line or a bit of an arc. When you really trace it, it's an arc because it's in a circle the whole time. The whole time. So, saying you can and doing it are two different things. Of course, I'll dismiss it as fake because it is fake. It's a fake belief. It's an indoctrination. And I can disprove it as fake. I see in machining's fun is comes back again. Ross, I don't have to prove a darn thing. Typical, empty response from a lying fucktard. Well, I hope you see this response. I hope it doesn't go too long and YouTube doesn't allow me to upload it. I was going to do this live. I may as well have, because then I'll have other responses to have to address as well. Feno 3000 says, if you were interested in truth, you would not be flat earthers. FE is a convenient lie playing upon other presupposed notions like creationist views that has no foundation in reality and thus no truth to it. As a result, Flat Earth as a movement is a giant cesspit of liars, propagandists and conmen that leech money from their gullible victims falling for their grand promises of truth and real ideas. Hello, NASA gets over $50 million a day. Thank you very much. I don't get so much as fucking 50 cents from a single one of you. Yeah. You've got to be kidding me. Some people make some money for doing some work that they're interested in. It's like you're thinking anybody that writes fiction, like whoever that Sheila is that wrote bloody Harry Potter books, you should be fuming at her for writing lies and making millions and millions of dollars out of it. But no, you attack the flat earthers who are just trying to make an honest living for trying to share the truth as they see it. You're not forcing it upon anybody. You don't have to believe it. You keep going on believing your globe as much as you fucking well like. I don't really care at all. At all. It's a big club. But we're not in it. Gullible victims. See, the thing is, none of us are gullible victims. We research. If I thought for 1 second that something another flat earther was saying was a lie, I'd research it and I'd say, no, you're wrong. And I have done. The people that say the earth is the moon is a cooling light. I researched that. I've come to my own conclusions. Yes, it has a cooling effect. But no, it is not a cooling light. No, it does not produce its own light. And people, got freaking hair in my nose. And then the people who are genuine flat earthers, when I turn and say that the moon is illuminated by the sun, they think I'm now a freaking globe believer again. I'm a heliocentrist. I say, no, I'm not. I think the moon is an artificial satellite and it's up high enough where it gets illuminated by the sun the whole time, and 50 minutes later per day going around us is what creates the phases that we see from down here below looking up at the bottom of it. As it gets nearer and nearer to the sun, the lit side gets nearer and nearer to the sun, so we see less and less of it until the point as new goes right near the sun and we see none of it. As it gets past it again, because the sun goes faster, it starts waxing, getting bigger and bigger until when they're opposite each other, we see the full again. It's really simple to me that it's lit by the sun. But most flat earthers won't believe that. They won't listen to it. They say, no, it creates its own light. And I said, well, how? Why is it not always full? Oh, well, it's charged by the light, like the battery symbol on your phone. I'm like, fuck me dead. Yes, a lot of flat earthers are fucking brain dead morons. But so are bloody 99.99% of fucking globe heads. Complete brain dead morons for believing they live on a globe in the first place. Well, these flat earthers have some understanding that water level at least is level. Just because they don't understand the moon, it's not their fault, because they were brainwashed for Eric Dubé's stupid idea that moon is a cooling light and it's a putrefying light. I'll tell you what's putrefying is killing animals and leaving their flesh out in the open, whether there's moonlight or not. It's going to go bad overnight. So don't bloody tell me the moon causes it. That's ridiculous. Anyway, yeah, I do think for myself. I'm not gullible, so don't tell me I'm a fucking victim falling for grand promises of truth and real ideas. Learning how things work and why we think they work that way, as you will see in schools, is education, not indoctrination. Oh, no. That is where you are indoctrinated. That's part of the programming, you stupid fool. God, if only you didn't realise that indoctrination is indoctrination because you don't realise it's indoctrination, and that's why you're indoctrinated and brainwashed. Being forced to follow the party line or being thrown out of a movement in disgrace like Flat Earth regularly exercises. You might want to look up how Tiger Dan was treated when his attempts to draw a Flat Earth map led him to realise it does not work, and even Jaron of Jaronism infamy has had to row back quickly when proposing his alternative map, as the reactions were pretty hostile. Does that sound like something a person only interested in the truth would do, budging under pressure in mere days? Close bracket. Is part of... how about we read that without the brackets bit here now? Where does that sentence start again? Being forced to follow the party line or being thrown out of a movement in disgrace like Flat Earth regularly exercises is part of indoctrination, the systematic teaching and enforcing of doctrine as the only allowed worldview. That sounds exactly like globe Earth and how you treat Flat Earthers. We don't have a map, as I've already explained why we don't have a map, because all maps were drawn with compasses in ever-increasing circles around the North Pole until they reached the equator, where they went pear-shaped. And that is why it took thousands of years of navigation using Polaris and all the other stars in the northern side of the equator, the inner side, as you can see, southern, outer, the souter side of the equator. As you can see, because those stars vanish, get lower as you get further away from them, as anything does, the most simple understanding of perspective is look at a really tall building, stand at the base of a tall building, look up, it fills it, your whole entire field of vision. You can barely see the roof line at all. As you get further away, the building appears to shrink and shrink and shrink. So of course the stars do the same thing as well. So once they lose track of Polaris, their guiding light, their northern star, their Santa Claus, their everything, they get lost. And because then they believe that this globe idea, we must have gone over curvature, rather than just understanding simple perspective that it's gotten lower because you've gotten further away from it, not that it's gone beyond the curvature. They start to think then that, well, we have to go, if we keep going south, eventually we'll come around the bottom of Africa if we go far enough. And so they'd use their charts, they'd calculate distances, they'd do this and that, and then as they're coming back up to go up towards India again, bam, they hit into the hidden rocks around the Cape of Good Hope. It's called the Cape of Good Hope because you need hope to get around it. There's no other way about it. You know, it's named that for a reason, because hundreds, possibly thousands of boats ran aground there because they couldn't navigate in the south because they had it all wrong, because they're using the wrong formula to calculate maps. They're going in ever-increasing circles because of magnetic north. Whereas whatever the actual shape of the flat Earth is, it's got nothing to do with ever-increasing circles, degrees, nautical miles, all these ridiculous things. They work quite fine and dandy in the northern hemisphere, and they all go pear-shaped below the equator, or outside, south of the equator. I'm going to finish this movie up in a minute. like that. Fuck me dead. I haven't even stirred the rice once. What the hell am I thinking? So good, man. Because I didn't put the lid on it. Rice knows how to cook itself. Okay, I'm just going to drop one more little truth bomb before I say goodnight and eat some curry. As you'll notice, in this day and age, there's a certain racial tension, as you might call it. People with my coloured skin, I'm a Caucasian. My ancestors came from England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and France. My ex-wife, Sweden, 100% Sweden. My children, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, just like myself. My brother, he's blue-eyed, but he had darker hair. My first sister, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, like myself. My youngest sister, she had brown eyes and slightly darker blonde hair. My dad has brown eyes and dark hair. My mother's blue-eyed, fair hair. That's our heritage. My heritage has been traced back, as I said, to all these UK countries and so on. In fact, the grandmother on my mother's side, after her retirement as a teacher of mathematics, English and science, married to my grandfather, who was a science teacher solely. They had 9 kids. My mother's the oldest. She traced her lineage back. Her name was actually Mary Scott Stewart, and she traced it back all the way to a certain English king called Robert the Bruce, who actually had an illegitimate son. Illegitimate because it was with his concubine while he was off overseas or something. And so they had to falsify dates because, you know, the English are all about keeping up appearances. So they falsified dates so that when his actual wife had a son a year or so later, they swapped the dates around so that the Queen's son became the heir to the throne rather than the firstborn son. So she traced our ancestry back to the firstborn illegitimate son who we've descended from. Meanwhile, you've got all these inbred kniggets over in England who've been king up the world ever since. Well, we've come here and settled in Australia and kept the lineage going. So the point is, fair-skinned people come from the far north of the planet. Dark-skinned people tend to come from nearer towards the equator and beyond. Now, if you looked at this on the flat Earth map, with north at the centre, the equator in the middle, and the south on the outer, and the way seasons work by the sun, the all-seeing eye, in the northern summer, the sun is said to be furthest away from us, and it peaks on June 22nd, which is my birthday, by the way. I was born on June 22nd, and this is why I was always interested in such things, because it was, to us, in the south, the shortest day of the year. So why was it short for us out here? It's because we got the least amount of sunlight, while the sun was furthest away in the north. Now, if you, I'm not taking the pendulum off again. If you swung a ball around in a constant circle around the equator over the flat Earth map, and assuming you're laying on your back, you're tiny and little, and you're looking up at it, as the thing went higher and higher and higher, it's still making the same size circle, but it appears to get smaller and smaller and smaller and move towards the centre. And that's exactly how the seasons work. As it moves towards the centre, At the far north, you can get a 24-hour sun because it's going in this tiny little circle due to height perspective. Not because it's speeding up or slowing down or anything else, it's just getting higher. And because direct sunlight through the least amount of atmosphere creates the direct heat, and the northern part of our world, the centre part, is the most landmass, captures the thermal heat that comes from the direct sunlight. That's why you get your summer when the sun is furthest away from us. But because it's furthest away from us, it doesn't pay to have dark skin because you need to create vitamin D directly from the sun on your skin. So pale skin is a survival adaptation advantage the further north you live. And then as the sun comes back down again, it appears to be making bigger and bigger circles until it hits the equator again and has the second equinox of the year. If you've ever seen the sun and a lemma, you'll see it's this small circle at the top, a big circle at the bottom. This is your sun and a lemma in effect, because distance perspective makes things look smaller further away and bigger as they're closer. So as the sun gets closer, it starts coming down again, and of course it appears to be moving south. Then the south gets its summer. So people near the equator, getting more or less the same amount of sunlight all year round, it paid to have dark skin because you didn't need to create as much vitamin D. And if your skin was too pale, you'd burn. And burning isn't good. You can get cancers or melanomas or whatever from burning too often. So it's not healthy to a long life. And yet, we notice the natural tendencies of people to remain dark skinned near the equator, but as we keep going further and further south, the skin levels get darker still because the sun is much, much, much closer and hotter. A lot of these people don't even go outside in the middle of the day through summer. You stay in the shade and you might work in the morning and you work in the afternoon, but you avoid that sunlight through the day. It is hot. And if it wasn't for being so much ocean in the outer perimeter, it would be so, so hot. You'd think this was created by grand design or something. And then we're surrounded by a giant ice wall all the way around, like a massive air conditioner, which also tempers the overall temperature. But because the sun being that close, it melts a lot of that. So the sea level is constantly rising all the time, as is evident from there once being a Gondwana land, where even Tasmania was attached to the mainland of Australia. But you will see that the people in Tasmania, the native Aboriginals, well before the Northern European invaders came in and destroyed most of them, they were black as black. Beautiful black people. The Maoris in New Zealand, dark-skinned. The people in South America, dark-skinned. The people in South Africa, dark-skinned. The people in the far north and centre, white-skinned. Why would the skin not get whiter as you went further away from the sun if we're on a planet? We're not on a planet. Human history proves it. Who we are, what we see, what we know, everything about it proves we live on a flat earth. And here's your real kicker to finish it off. The sun getting so far south appears to go down really low from the far north. So the point the people in the far north, they're in complete darkness or complete twilight. They don't even see the sun for several months of the year. But the people, say, like in Egypt, who are able to travel far enough south to see the sun setting on the winter solstice, for them, December 22nd, they see the Southern Cross and they say, the Son of God, the life giver, has died on the Southern Cross. But after 3 days, it comes back again. And to this day, people celebrate the birth of the Son of God. 22, 23, 24, on the 25th of December. We celebrate the birth of the Son of God, surrounded by his 12 disciples. The Son of God has returned. That is why heliocentrism is sun worship. And you don't even know you are followers of the oldest religion in the history of the world. Sun worship.